3 spine-chilling true horror stories exposing the sinister secrets of what's outside your door. Lisa had grown accustomed to the quiet hum of her Pennsylvania suburb, but tonight, as she locked the front door behind her, something felt off. The calm of sunset gave way to an unsettling darkness, and though she kissed Jack goodnight with a sense of routine, a gnawing fear began to twist in her gut. What was that sound coming from the back door? The scratching was soft at first, like a rodent scuttling through the trash. But soon it escalated, sharp claws raking against the wood, echoing through the silence. Her pulse quickened, reminding her she was alone in this cozy, fragile world. Every evening, tired but resolute, she returned home from the diner, her solace hiding behind the walls of their small house. Tonight though, the weight of the shadows pressed against her. It felt like a warning, a low growl waiting to pounce. She glanced outside through the curtain, catching sight of the Johnsons next door. Their perfect lawn, the charming family always at play, seemed suddenly sinister. Why were their late-night lights flickering so urgently? What were they hiding? Lisa shook her head, trying to reset her thoughts. It was nothing. Just her imagination running wild, yet the scratching continued, more aggressive now, claws digging desperately into the doorframe. Panic clawed at her insides, as she tried to string together rational thoughts between the mounting terror. It couldn't be just an animal, no raccoon could make that sound. It was unyielding, relentless, and sending chills down her spine. The shadows seemed to shift with every scrape, whispering secrets she wasn't ready to hear. Just then, the phone buzzed in her pocket. Before she could even think, she dialed the local police, her breath quickening with each ringing tone. "Hello? Yeah, I need help," she managed, heart racing, ready to explain the terror outside. But the response felt hollow, a lazy assurance that left her even more afraid. Their dismissive tone echoed in her mind as she hung up, feeling the walls close in around her. Could she really expect them to understand her fear? To act? She was alone, truly alone. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Trembling hands gripped the edge of the counter. As the scratching intensified, flickering shadows seemed to dart just beyond her vision. She could hear Jack's footsteps drifting from his room, and for a moment, she felt a flicker of hope, something to ground her sanity. "Mommy, can you hear it too?" His small voice quaked, seeping into her skin like ice. Her breath hitched. They weren't alone. That awareness crashed over her like a tidal wave. The scratching now felt alive, twisting deep within her, clawing not just at her home, but at the very essence of her being. What lay outside was more than mere terror, it was an embodiment of all the dark fears she sought to protect Jack from. Just as the scratching grew frantic, the light from the Johnsons' home flickered one last time before going dark, an ominous sign of what awaited. The night thickened, wrapping around them with a suffocating grip. The shadows lurked hungrily outside, waiting. Something twisted, something malevolent was about to break through. Could the truth behind their haunted suburb be vying to expose itself at last? The scratching turned into a rhythm, punctuated by a low growl that reverberated through the house. Lisa could hardly breathe. She glanced towards the hall where Jack's door stood ajar. The small beam of light from his nightlight beckoned like a lifebuoy in a storm. In that fleeting moment, sanity battled instinct. She longed to rush to him, to snatch him up and flee the house, but there was the sound, sharp and hungry. Her feet felt glued to the floor. A flash of fear gripped her heart as a sound creaked like a whisper from just outside, an unsettling shuffle coupled with the gnaw of unseen teeth against wood. "Stay quiet, Jack," she whispered, her voice trembling. She needed to protect him, but what was she protecting him from? From behind the door creaked a sinister intent, the scratching now clawing not just at wood but at the very fabric of her world. It was insistent. It was coming for them. Her mind raced, frantically searching for an escape, for a weapon, anything to defend against whatever lurked beyond her door. She took a cautious step toward the back door, compelled by a terrifying need to know what faced them. With each step, she could feel the air thickening, wrapping around her like a cold, slick film. She reached for the doorknob and hesitated. If she opened it, could she survive what lay beyond? Then she heard it, a whisper, soft but clear enough to pierce the fog of her terror. Lisa. The voice was familiar yet distorted. A chill raced down her spine. It couldn't be Jack. He was in his room. Jack? She whispered back, panic rising in her throat like bile. Silence hung heavily, punctuated only by the scratching now growing desperate. The door seemed to swell, begging her to turn the handle and reveal the darkness outside. Mommy! Jack's voice erupted from the shadows, now shrill with fear. She dashed toward his room. Heart pounding, she flung herself into the room, slamming the door behind her. Jack sat up in bed, his eyes wide and frightened. Mommy, I don't want it to get in. I'm here, baby, I'm here, she murmured, her voice shaky as she wrapped her arms around him. The warmth of his small body against hers brought a fleeting sense of security. Yet the scratching still clawed persistently at the back door, relentless and unyielding. In the dim light of his nighttime glow, she looked into his eyes and saw the reflection of terror, a mirror of her own. It wants you, Mommy, he breathed. I heard it say my name. In that moment, realization hit harder than any nightmare could fathom. This was not just a random sinister force. It knew them. It wanted them. The scratching transformed, becoming a howl, then a thunderous bang that sent tremors through the old wood frame. The lights flickered and chirped in response, creating a strobe effect of nightmarish images. Hide, Jack. Under the bed. She urged, her voice strong despite the rising panic. He scrambled from her grip, his small form disappearing beneath the safety of the mattress. She quietly positioned herself in front of him, adrenaline surging, preparing for whatever horror would burst through the door, but no sounds came. The stillness was deafening. Maybe they had been saved, at least for a moment. Maybe it was just a figment of their imagination, an overactive perception of the dark. Then the doorknob began to twist slowly, deliberately. Lisa's heart thundered like a war drum as the door creaked open a sliver. She could feel a dark presence pressing against the threshold, like the pressure before a storm. A silhouette loomed just beyond the threshold. It had come for them, and there was no place left to hide. What lay on the other side? In every shadow, she could feel the gaze of an unwilling hunter. As the door pushed open wider, the outline sharpened into focus. A moment frozen in time, before terror truly breached their sanctuary. Would this be the end, or merely the beginning of something infinitely worse? The door inched open, each creak a sinister whisper nudging the threshold of their trembling sanctuary. Lisa's breath quickened, a sharp intake filling the air with dread. The silhouette, a twisted form bathed in shadows, moved just out of reach of the nightlight, every feature shrouded in darkness. It swayed slightly, as if it could sense them, hunger ceaseless and cold. Then came the voice again, that guttural rasp that slithered into her ears. Lisa, it crooned, tone steeped in mockery. Not Jack's voice, but something far more sinister. Come out and play. Play? The word hung in the air, dripping with malevolence. Lisa shivered, instinctively pulling Jack tighter, feeling the warmth of his small body against her chest. He was so vulnerable, so innocent. Images of what lay behind that malevolent form danced through her mind, images she dared not indulge, but they clawed at her, relentless. Stay quiet, she murmured into Jack's hair, praying to stifle the whimper rising in her throat. She could not let the terror seep into his fragile heart. They were both reachable, both susceptible to the pull of whatever lurked in the darkness. She pictured it with teeth like daggers and eyes that fixate on prey. Just thinking about it made her gut churn with nausea. Jack's whisper broke through her thoughts, "Mommy, it sees me." His tiny hand clutched her shirt, fingers trembling. No more fear, they needed a plan. As the silhouette pressed closer, blocking out the light from the hallway, Lisa's mind raced. She spotted a broken vase by the window. A shard might suffice. Desperation clenched her heart as her instincts screamed at her to run, even though her feet remained rooted. Then a crash echoed through the dark, rattling the glass the window. Something was scrambling outside, scratching against the frame, a relentless clawing at the world beyond. Panic surged in her veins like venom. Was it trying to break in? "Jack, I need you to be brave," she whispered, squeezing her eyes shut for a brief second as if she could summon strength from the universe itself. "I'm going to get that glass, if it opens the door." Footsteps barely audible, she slipped out from Jack's protective embrace, heart racing. The silhouette shifted, its attention drawn momentarily away from them. The air felt electrified, alive with danger, but she couldn't back down. She edged toward the broken vase, each step agonizing yet determined. Then, the door swung wider with a creak that seemed to resonate through her very soul. "What's wrong, Lisa?" the shadowy form asked with a voice like grinding stone. "You want to keep hiding? You think it will save you?" With the last shred of courage, she lunged for the shard and turned to face the figure. "Get back!" she screamed, adrenaline blinding her with raw fear and fierce protectiveness. The light flickered again, illuminating the space just enough to see its face, a contorted mask morphing obscenely as it grinned. That heartbeat, a realization struck her like cold steel. It wasn't just after Jack it wanted her to. The scratching by the window intensified, a feverish rhythm, as a second figure started appearing, contorting itself, climbing through the pain with the speed of desperation. Lisa's hands trembled, holding the shard like a fragile lifeline. "Mommy!" Jack's frantic scream jolted her back. Time fractured. They needed to act, but how? The window, the door, who knew what waited outside there too? She turned to Jack, terror knitting their brows. This was it. They needed to fight back. Before she could shout a warning, the first figure lunged forward, reaching for them, and all went black. What would happen next? Would they fight or flight, together, or would they succumb to the darkness creeping closer? Light broke through the darkness, but it was not the comforting glow of safety. It was a blinding flash that momentarily disoriented Lisa, making her heart race with sheer terror. She felt the shard of glass slip from her fingers, clattering to the floor, the sound echoing in the suffocating silence. The figures were close, too close. Whispers slithered around her, coiling like smoke. "Lisa," they sang in unison, a haunting choir of breathy rasps. "You cannot hide from us." Jack's whimper broke through the cacophony of their voices. In the disorienting light, Lisa caught a glimpse of Jack's terrified face, wide eyes filled with confusion and dread. Her resolve hardened. Whatever they were, they could not take him away from her. Not now. Not ever. With instincts sharpened by fear, she sprang forward, grabbing Jack's hand. "Run!" she shouted, the urgency propelling them into motion. They darted past the figures that loomed in the doorway, but as they ran, Lisa could feel a chill wrap around them, as though the darkness itself was reaching out, grasping at their heels. "Outside!" Jack cried, and she nodded, desperation guiding their steps toward the back door. She fumbled with the handle just as the scratching sound intensified behind them. The figures were gaining ground, their shapes shifting and melding in the flickering light, twisted and contorted mockeries of humanity. "Keep moving," Lisa urged, her mind racing. They were close to escaping the confines of their home, but would the safety outside be any better? The fear clawing at her throat heightened. Would the night swallow them whole instead? They burst into the yard, the grass cold and wet underfoot, but the moment they stepped outside, a suffocating darkness loomed overhead. Clouds throbbed with a malicious energy, and the air turned stale and heavy. The moon, once a silvery ally, was now obscured, its light stolen away, as if it, too, were afraid. "Mommy! They're coming!" Jack's voice trembled, tiny fists clenched at his sides, and she turned to face their pursuers. They loomed at the edge of the porch, blending with the shadows, but even amongst the darkness, Lisa saw them clearly now. They weren't merely figures, they were faceless embodiments of her worst nightmares. Lisa's heart thundered in her chest. "What do you want?" she yelled, voice raw, desperation spilling out. "Your fear," one of them hissed, the sound slicing through the night. "It feeds us. Come back, and let us feast." A surge of revulsion filled her. They thrived on terror. She needed to think, fast. There had to be a way to break the hold they had on her, to shatter the grip of fear imprisoning them. "We can't let them win," she cried out, adrenaline amplifying her resolve. She turned to Jack, his face pale and wide-eyed, the shadows creeping closer. "Close your eyes, Jack. Trust me." He obeyed without hesitation, his small fingers trembling in hers. Lisa closed her eyes too, shutting out the dark, shutting out the figures. She concentrated, visualizing a warm light surrounding them, a barrier that would hold back the dread. But just as the flicker of hope ignited, a chilling whisper brushed against her ear, "You think that can save you? You cannot hide from yourselves." The ground beneath her feet quivered as if they were not alone. She felt a weight pressing down, intangible yet undeniable, suffocating her will to resist. The world shifted, darkness expanded, stretching its claws towards them. "Mommy!" Jack cried, and Lisa opened her eyes, heart leaping as she pulled him closer, bracing for the inevitable, and then silence. What had they done? What price would they pay for this moment of defiance? Out of the stillness rose a shadow, and suddenly, the air filled with laughter, a haunting cacophony that resonated in their bones. As they stood in the grip of that dread, Lisa felt a flicker of understanding. The figures, they weren't just after them. They were after something far deeper. But what would it take for Lisa to unearth the truth? Would they discover the dark secret that entwined them all? Time was running out. Would she make a choice to face their tormentors or continue running? The darkness around them thickened, an all-consuming void shifting with unspoken secrets. And in that breathless moment, uncertainty loomed larger than the figures themselves. Jack's grip tightened on Lisa's hand, and she could feel his heartbeat matching the frantic rhythm of her own. The laughter that had filled the air was no longer just an echo, it resonated in their chests, a sinister vibration that wrapped around them like a noose. The figures stirred at the edge of the porch, their faceless forms pulsating, as if they were one with the very shadows themselves. "Mommy, I'm scared." Jack whimpered again, his voice barely breaking through the oppressive silence. Lisa's heart sank, knowing they were standing on the brink of something unspeakable. A shadow detached itself from the rest and stepped forward, a twisted entity that seemed to melt and reform with every breath. "Fear is delightful," it hissed, low and seductive, causing the ground beneath them to rumble. "Look at what it brings us. The thrill of the chase, the sweet scent of your dread." Lisa's instincts screamed at her to flee, but retreat wouldn't save them now. They needed a plan, a desperate, reckless plan. She pivoted, scanning the yard for anything they could use. The darkness seemed alive, thrumming with an energy that daunted her senses. She spotted the old shed at the far end. Its door hung open just enough for an escape. "Jack! Over there!" she shouted, pointing with conviction. "We can hide in the shed." With a nod, they sprinted towards it, each step a battle against the consuming fear that clung to them. The moment they reached the shed, Lisa yanked the door wider, pulling Jack in and sliding the door shut. Darkness enveloped them, but here, at least, the sounds of the figures faded to a whisper. Inside, the air was musty, old tools hung suspended in the gloom. Lisa's eyes darted around, searching for something, anything that could be a weapon, a shield against the terror outside. A shovel caught her attention, rusted and heavy. She gripped it tightly, feeling its cold metal bite into her palm. "Mommy," Jack's voice trembled. "What if they find us?" Lisa knelt down, looking him square in the eyes. "They won, Jack. We're safe here for now. We just need to wait for them to go away." But every second they remained in silence, dread pooled within her. The laughter resumed outside, now guttural, echoing through the thin walls, chilling her to the bone. The darkness whispered beneath the shed door, as if impatient, eager to seep through any cracks in their sanctuary. Come out, little ones," another voice joined in, this one gratingly sweet, making her skin crawl. "Your fright is intoxicating," panic surged as Lisa squeezed Jack's shoulders. "Breathe. Just breathe. They can only toy with us if we let them." But her words felt feeble. The shadows pressed against the walls, inching closer. With every tick of the clock somewhere far away, her hope faded a shade darker. She had to seize control before they lost themselves to the creeping madness. With a deep breath, Lisa made a decision. "We can't stay here. We need to counter their fear with our own strength." She stood, shovel in hand. "Are you with me?" Jack's nod was almost imperceptible, but she felt a flicker of courage ignite within him. They weren't powerless. As long as they faced whatever awaited them together, they stood a chance. Lisa swung the door open with purpose, stepping into the darkness where the laughter swelled. Her heart raced, both with terror and determination. The figures awaited, their outlines shifting like smoke. "Come back," one hissed, its voice a whisper against her skin. "We only want to help you accept your fear," but Lisa screamed. "No. You're wrong." The laughter crescendoed into a cacophony, rattling her mind. Jack clung to her side, their unity a barrier against the encroaching nightmares. They could not let fear dictate their fate, they would confront the darkness enveloping them, and as they rallied against the shadows, a chill swept through the air, a promise of the unknown suggesting there were deeper horrors still awaiting them, testing the very core of their souls. But what lay in wait beyond the door? Would they uncover the true nature of the darkness, or would fear consume them both, turning their bond into something unimaginable? The air crackled between them as they stepped into the night. The figures loomed, twisting and undulating like smoke caught in the wind. Shadows danced, blurring the line between reality and nightmare. Lisa tightened her grip on the shovel, its weight grounding her, reminding her of her purpose. Jack stood close, his breath shallow, eyes wide with fear. "Stay behind me," she whispered, hoping to anchor his trembling heart. "Mommy, I can't," he began, but she cut him off with a fierce shake of her head. "Trust me, Jack. Just trust me." As they stepped forward, the laughter intensified, a malicious chorus that reverberated in her bones. It felt alive, wrapping around them, clinging to their skin. With every step they took, the shadows dilated, seeming to pull back just enough to let them pass, hunting for a moment of weakness. "Look at them," one figure taunted, the resonant sound echoing with a twisted glee. "So brave, so fearless. But deep down, you're quaking." With a surge of determination, Lisa raised the shovel high. "We're not afraid of you," she shouted. Her voice betrayed her, cracking under the pressure. But she forced herself to stand tall, willing the quiver in her voice to fade. A figure separated from the rest, gliding toward them like a wraith, its form darkening the ground beneath it. "Oh, but you are. We can smell it. Your fear is like a feast for us." It leaned in closer, and she felt an ice-cold breath brushing against her neck, sending shivers down her spine. "Jack, close your eyes." "I can't." He wheezed, his small frame trembling beside her. "Jack. Please stop yelling." He cried out, his voice breaking with panic. The wave of its shadow brushed against them, a tangible force. Surrender wasn't an option. Lisa's heart thundered, but she stepped forward, bracing the shovel against the ground. "I'll protect you, Jack," she declared, and she meant it with every fiber of her being. Then a laughter like shattered glass pierced the air, breaking her resolve. The figures loomed, their body language shifting from amusement to hunger. "You can't protect him," one crooned, its glee sharp enough to cut. "You can't protect yourself." The cold seeped in, twisting her thoughts. Darkness dripped with intent, clawing at her sanity. Memories of bright days, laughter, and warmth flitted through her mind, taunting her with their fading light. "No!" she screamed, thrusting the shovel forward, hoping to keep them at bay. But as she swung, the figure melted away, slipping back into the writhing mass. "Mommy, they're everywhere!" Jack wailed, collapsing to his knees, pressing his small hands against the sides of his head, trying to block out the noise that had consumed the world around them. Lisa's heart dropped, the sound of his despair cutting deeper than the chilling laughter that echoed around them. She would not let them win. Gathering every ounce of strength, she knelt beside him, forcing him to look up. "Jack! Focus on me. Remember the games we played? The adventures? You're stronger than they are. But I'm scared," he whispered, tears streaming down his cheeks, blurring the outlines of the monsters. "Then we'll be scared together," she cried, determination setting fire to her veins. "Let us fight." Before they could move, the shadows closed in, blotting out the stars and stealing the very air from her lungs. The mirth grew louder, more frenzied, feeding on their fear. "We have more questions for you," the chorus sang, voices intertwining, thickening the suffocating atmosphere. "Will you choose to live in fear forever? Will you lose your connection to one another, give into our embrace?" The moment stretched, taut as a tightrope, their bond both an anchor and a target. Just as Lisa thought they might be overwhelmed, she caught a glimpse of a glimmer, a crack of light emerging at the edge of the darkness. But was it a way out or a trap? The shadowy laughter morphed into something even more sinister, as if the darkness itself could sense their flickering hope. "Run," it beckoned, teasingly sweet. "Run, if you can." But would it lead them to safety, or deeper into the dark abyss? They had to decide: stay and fight their fear or chase the faint glimmer. With trembling resolve, Lisa turned to Jack, her mind racing. "Jack, we have to move. Now." But beyond the threshold of the light loomed something else, something they could never have anticipated. Something worse. What waited for them in that light? Did they dare to step into the unknown, or would it consume them first? They stumbled toward the light, breathless and terrified, Jack's small hand gripping Lisa's tightly. The laughter stirred, less sinister now but still dripping with malice, weaving around them like a sinister melody. It seemed to whisper, to chant, urging them to abandon hope. Lisa pushed the thought down, forcing her attention onward. "Just a few more steps," she urged. The light flickered, pulsing like a heartbeat. Each pulse grew stronger as they approached, casting shadows around them that danced with disturbing life, but as they neared, the light morphed, revealing not escape but a nightmarish spectacle. It formed into images, twisted reflections of lives shattered by fear. Faces she recognized, neighbors, friends, all staring back at her with terror-stricken expressions, their mouths moving silently as if caught in some eternal scream. "Mommy." Jack's voice trembled, his grip slackening. "Stay close," she snapped, panic threading her words. "Keep holding on." Lisa steadied herself, heart hammering against her chest. They had come so far from the laughter, and what awaited them now felt like an insidious trap. The glowing images pulsed wildly, feeding into the darkness that still clawed at their heels. With every beat, the figures seemed to beckon, their eyes filled with a blend of sorrow and terror demanding liberation. "Mommy, I don't like it," Jack whimpered. "Neither do I." Her voice cracked. But fear would not bring them together. "We need to break through. Together." Jack nodded, determination flaring in his eyes. They took a step into the light, its warmth washing over them like a thin, fragile veil. The darkness stirred behind them, its laughter now a furious roar, rattling the very ground. Suddenly, the ethereal glow twisted, pulling them into a realm of screams and shadows. The images started to coalesce around them, faces merged into one, eyes widening, mouth stretching unnaturally in fear. They were trapped in a nightmare where past fear was now a living entity. "Run!" Lisa yelled, feeling despair flooding in again as she felt the cold noise of their laughter curling around her throat like a vice. "Run!" They stumbled backward, breathless, but the shadows were relentless, inching closer, edges sharp and jagged. "Jack, hold on to me. Don't look away," she shouted, clenching the shovel in one hand and wrapping the other around him tightly. She felt his heart racing against her. But something began to ripple through the air, a defiance. "They want us to lose ourselves," she roared, steeling her resolve once more. "We can't let them win." The shadows paused just for a moment, their twisted forms wavering. Lisa took a deep breath, memories rushing back, sunlit days, laughter echoing in the warmth, Jack's small hands wrapping around hers in trust. Each joyous moment surged through her, fortifying her spirit against despair. "Jack! We fight back with love." With a newfound strength, Lisa swung the shovel toward the outstretched forms. The moment it connected, the sound shattered the air, an explosion of light that sent ripples of color cascading through the space. The figures recoiled, their laughter turning into wails that echoed endlessly. The light expanded, washing over them like a wave, threatening to burst the shadows apart. "Now, Jack! Move!" They charged toward the light, clutching each other tightly. It drew closer, becoming a doorway to freedom as the darkness peeled away, screeching in fury. But just as they crossed the threshold, Lisa felt a pull, a resistance, a sharp grip on her ankle. She glanced back. One shadow persisted, darting closer with a speed that sent shivers racing down her spine. "Mommy!" Jack cried, panic gripping his voice. The darkness clawed at her, a whisper hissing through the air, "You're mine." As the light enveloped them, Lisa's heart dropped. Could they escape? Or would they be forever chained in shadows, losing more than just their way? What lingered in the air, twisted and waiting behind them? The world pulsed as though anticipating the next move. Could they truly emerge unscathed, or would the darkness close in behind them, waiting for their moment of weakness? The light surged around them like water, enveloping their forms in a warm embrace. But for Lisa, the warmth quickly twisted into a stifling heat. Glancing back once more, she saw the shadow tangled around her ankle, dark fingers tightening, each pulse sent a wave of cold dread through her veins. "Jack! Keep running!" she screamed. The raw terror in her voice propelled them forward through the brightness, but the shadow surged with a vengeance. "Mommy, I can't hold on!" Jack cried, his small body trembling, fear radiating from him like a palpable fog. Just a little longer. She felt a desperate need to push the darkness from her mind, but it wrapped around her like chains, merciless and heavy. In that instant, hope flickered. Would she make it? Would they both be consumed? Just as they broke free from the harsh grip of shadow, the light thinned, and they stumbled into a strange, shifting landscape. Surrounding them were twisted trees with bark that resembled the faces of anguished souls, watching with hollow eyes. Each minute seemed to echo with their whispers, twisting words that seeped into Lisa's consciousness. "Why did you leave them?" A voice crooned, soft yet unyielding. "They will follow you, always." "Mommy! What is happening?" Jack's voice quivered, pulling her back to reality. The trees warped and stretched, the ground beneath them shifted, yet the light remained at a distance, receding as if mocking their plight. Lisa gritted her teeth, forcing her heart to calm. Her insides churned with dread, but there was no time. They had to move. "Stay close, Jack. We can't stop." She pulled him forward, the echoes of laughter chasing them, creeping through the thorny underbrush. It was a tangible, suffocating presence, as if the forest itself conspired with the shadows. Flashes of memories flickered in her mind the night before they ventured here. Their old home, laughter during family dinner, Jack's first step. Sudden guilt pierced her. Did she bring them here, unwittingly? Had they been marked? The laughter grew louder, swirling around them like a storm. You're all that's left. It jeered. Everything you love will turn to ash. Just give up. No. She shouted defiantly, her voice intertwined with terror and fury. We're not alone. We fight. As if responding to her plea, the shadows recoiled, momentarily stunned by her resolve. Taking advantage, Lisa sprinted faster, dragging Jack behind her, feeling the momentum shift slightly like an earthy tide, but the respite was fleeting. The ground surged beneath them, forcing them to leap as jagged roots erupted, threatening to ensnare their feet. Jack stumbled, falling. The world around them seemed to hold its breath. Help! Mommy! He wailed, hitting the ground hard. No! Lisa screamed, pivoting back, heart pounding furiously against her ribs. She reached for him just in time, adrenaline surging as she pulled him upright. But the darkness struck again, relentless and hungry, its icy grip curling fingers around her throat, tugging her away. Run! Run! She gasped, her vision blurring as she propelled forward. The scream echoed in her ears, a plea, a taunt. They veered through the twisted forest, hearts pounding in unison, each echo urging them on. Every time Lisa looked back, the shadow was closer, more defined. It wasn't just a shadow anymore, it had form, a skeletal grin hungrily stretching across its face, anticipating their downfall. Then they burst into a clearing, an empty desperate space that felt void of life yet filled with malice. The dark figures from before gathered around the border, eyes glinting with an eerie hunger. They hesitated, assessing the threat before them, a mother and son, clinging to memories, hope, and fear. Look how easy it would be, the whispers floated on the wind, inviting, taunting. Embrace the darkness. Join us. The air thickened, she could taste the dread clinging to her tongue. Jack! We have to find the light again. She urged, her breath ragged. But Jack stood frozen, eyes wide, entranced by the beckoning figures. In the shadows lies your destiny, they hissed, reaching for him. Don't listen. Lisa cried, stepping towards him, ready to snatch him away from the grave reality unfolding. Will you save him? They taunted. Or become one of us? Every second felt like an eternity. Would she succeed, or would it be their final moment together? As the shadows lunged forward, threatening to engulf them both, questions raced through her mind. What was truly waiting for them when the light returned? Was there even a way back? Mommy! Jack whispered, I'm scared. In that moment, with darkness encroaching, Lisa felt the weight of the choices to be made. How far would she go to protect him? What would she sacrifice? And as she faced the horde with defiance, she knew their journey had only just begun. What horrors awaited them beyond the light? And would they be able to survive the darkness once again? Jack's trembling hand grasped hers, its warmth contrasting sharply with the encroaching chill of the darkness. Every heartbeat thrummed in her ears, drowning out the taunts and whispers from the figures circling them, waiting to feast on their fear. Look away, Jack! Lisa shouted, ripping her gaze from the sinister faces swaying in the shadows. They advanced slowly, as if savoring the moment. With each step, tendrils of black curled and writhed like serpents, seeking an opening. She felt the air grow heavier, pressing down like a weight she couldn't shake off. Mommy? Jack's tiny voice broke through the fog of terror. What do we do? We run. Lisa said, her resolve hardening. There was no choice, they couldn't get lost in the trappings of despair. She pulled him forward, but as they dashed toward the edge of the clearing, the dark figures shifted, forming a barrier, blocking their way. Join us, they sang in mournful unison, their eyes glowing like dying embers. The chant felt alive, crawling under her skin, whispering promises of safety from the darkness if only they would surrender. She shook her head violently to dispel their words. "No. We're not giving in," she screamed, the primal instinct to protect her son igniting a fury inside her. She charged forward, clutching Jack tightly, their bodies cutting through the weight of the air, fueled by sheer desperation, but, just as they approached the edge, the ground beneath them heaved violently. The earth split and yawned open, revealing a maw of blackness that threatened to swallow them whole. "Mommy!" Jack cried, his eyes wide and glistening with tears. "I can't do this." In that split second, time froze. Lisa's heart thudded painfully in her chest, a relentless drumbeat calling her to action. She darted a glance back. The shadow figures were closing in, the skeletal forms twisting and elongating, their smiles widening, revealing jagged teeth. "Jack! Climb!" she yelled, spotting a massive gnarled tree nearby whose limbs stretched toward the sky like hands grasping for salvation. With all her might, she shoved Jack in that direction, praying he would listen. But the moment of hesitation cost them. A shadow lunged at her, grabbing her ankle like a vice grip. Panic surged through her like ice water, freezing her muscles, as she felt herself being pulled down into the abyss. "Mommy!" Jack screamed, reaching for her. "Run, Jack! You have to run!" she cried, her voice hoarse, echoing in the chilling silence that followed. With tears streaming down his face, Jack turned and bolted, leaving her to fight the darkness alone. In a whirlwind of emotions, Lisa rallied her strength, feeling the icy fingers that clutched at her loosen for a heartbeat. Somehow, her spirit ignited, a spark of defiance flaring deep inside. "Let him go!" she bellowed, rage boiling over. The tree's branches, swayed by her fierce resolve, dug deep roots into the ground, digging in as if to anchor her against the pull of the shadows. "Then join us," the figures hissed, their eyes shifting from sinister to something like hunger. "In night, you will find peace, a family to embrace." The ground heaved again, but this time, she stood firm. "No. I will never be one of you." With that declaration, the shadows writhed, a cacophony of dissatisfaction rippling through them. The thundering footsteps echoed in her ears as she felt her body lift slightly, as if the darkness intended to fly her into the heart of the void. She would not let it win. "Jack!" she shouted, the sound like a lifeline. "Find the light. Find the way." But in that moment, amidst her desperate struggle, Jack vanished into the foliage, swallowed whole by the forest. Panic shot through Lisa's veins. She tugged and tore, desperation edging her actions as she fought for her freedom, her thoughts centering on her son. Then, with one final, fierce pull, she broke free. Breaths coming in sharp gasps, she stumbled back, eyes darting around for Jack, the night filling with a sinister hush. "Jack!" she cried once more, her heart racing as she turned toward the direction he had fled. Would he find the light? Or succumb to the beckoning shadows like so many before him? The chilling wind rustled through the trees, and the whispers faded in the distance. One thought burned bright in Lisa's heart: she had to find her son, before the darkness hunted them both, and as she took her first step toward the shadows in search of him, questions loomed heavily. What would she sacrifice to save him? Would she be too late? A jagged outline appeared ahead, and she felt the ground shift again. Was it the light? Or a new horizon of terror waiting just for her? The darkness wrapped around Lisa tightly, stifling her senses as she dashed through the twisted trees, fear clawing at her insides. "Jack!" Her voice echoed futilely, swallowed by the sinister whispers that brushed at her skin. Every moment felt like an eternity while dread tightened its grip. She could still feel the fading warmth of his hand in hers, the soft squeeze gone now, replaced by aching emptiness. "Please, Jack. Where are you?" The words escaped her lips as a raw plea. It was all that mattered. Not the shadows hovering in the corners of her vision or the sinister echoes taunting her. Nothing mattered but finding him. As she pushed deeper into the forest, the air thickened, laden with despair. The haunting laughter faded, but it left behind a chilling resonance that pulsed like a heartbeat in her ears. "You're running out of time," it whispered, mocking her determination. She pressed onward until she spotted a pale flicker in the distance, a soft, inviting glow that pierced through the suffocating darkness. Her heart raced, hope igniting inside her. "Jack!" She shouted again, sprinting toward that light that felt like a beacon. The glow grew stronger, illuminating a clearing just ahead. To her horror, she stumbled into a grotesque tableau, familiar faces twisted in pain, mingling with shadows as they danced together in despair. It was as if the very essence of every lost soul was woven into that dark realm, their sobs muted and echoed through the nightmare. They called out to her in a tragic chorus, "Join us, you can save him, you can finally rest." "No." Lisa screamed, her resolve hardening once more, recalling Jack's laughter, their life together, the love that bound them. "I won't surrender." As if in response, the shadows in the clearing lurched toward her, tendrils winding like smoke seeking to wrap around her throat, dragging her toward the very darkness that threatened to consume her soul. But Lisa fought back with fury and desperation. She felt the warmth of Jack dissipate into the shadows, and she latched onto the memory of his small hands grasping hers, that innocent trust that gave her the strength to withstand the suffocating dread. With each step forward, she felt herself shifting, choosing to fight with the love that illuminated her heart. "Jack!" she shouted, her voice like a lifeline cast into the depths. The shadows recoiled, their hunger faltering. "You can't have us." Suddenly, a deep roar echoed through the clearing. The dark figures writhed as if in pain, the ground trembling beneath them. "You can't stop what you don't understand." One of them hissed, its twisted mouth curling into a grim smile. "Here, your souls are ours." The ground split open, the abyss revealed with a chilling certainty. But in that moment, Lisa gasped in disbelief. From the shadows, Jack emerged, his small frame silhouetted against the warming glow that spilled forth from the dark. With wide eyes filled with determination, he stood firm, arms outstretched. "Mommy! I found you. We can beat them." Tears welled in her eyes. He had persevered. The darkness realized their bond was stronger than it could ever comprehend. The love they shared was a light that burned fiercely, cutting through the murky depths. And so, they charged towards each other, voices rising in unity. "Together!" they cried, their strength merging. The shadows hesitated, uncertainty flickering in their inky depths. "Leave us be. You have no power here." In an explosion of light that burst from their connection, the darkness paused, the figures retreating for the first time as the warmth wrapped around them. The clearing transformed, the twisted trees began to tremble, their anguished faces morphing into soft whispers of encouragement. "Keep fighting." As the darkness recoiled, Lisa grasped Jack's hand tightly, leading him back across the clearing to where the light shimmered in vivid brilliance. The clearing opened up into a vast expanse of luminescence, stretching endlessly before them. Past the shadows, memories of love filled the air, joy, laughter, safety, all of it surged back, creating a barrier against the encroaching dark. With every step toward the light, Lisa felt the burdens of fear and despair lift. Side by side with Jack, heart pounding in exhilaration, they rushed forward, emerging into radiance, leaving behind the shadows that clamored for their return. And then there was silence. The world shimmered before them in vivid hues, brighter than anything she'd ever known. "We did it!" Jack exclaimed, his voice radiant with joy. "We're free." But as they faced this new horizon, a gentle breeze wrapped around them, filled with hope. And behind them, the darkness writhed, whispers echoing softly, "You may have escaped, but we are always watching." Lisa and Jack stood side by side, gazing into the future, their bond palpable and enduring against any darkness that may come. They had faced their fears and won together. And she knew, whatever lay ahead, they would always find the light. Now, with hearts rekindled and souls defiant, they would meet the world anew. If you enjoyed this spine-tingling conclusion, you need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss future exclusive stories that will send chills down your spine. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm. Every like makes a difference. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about tonight's wild ending. Share what you thought, and don't wait even one more second. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. True fans know how important it is to support the channel through these actions.